Singing and running and laughing and jumping, yeah, we're outside every day. No matter the weather, we're always together, and that's okay. Singing and running and laughing and jumping, yeah, we're outside every day. No matter the weather, we're always together, and that's okay. So let's go play.
Hi, welcome everybody. Today I'm very honored to have a special guest with me. Her name is Suz Lipman. I have followed her blog for, I think it's almost as long I've been blogging. She lives in close to San Francisco. Suz, where do you live?
Hi, Kari. First off, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm honored and thrilled to be here. I live in a town called Mill Valley, California, which is just north of San Francisco. We're just over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Do you have a daughter, or I think you have a daughter? How old is she?
I do. My daughter Anna is 16. And she is a big part of my inspiration and a big part of what gets me outside, having fun with her. She's a really outdoor girl, and she has been from the start. And we've just had lots of fun adventures over the years. And I know part of the reason you have me on is because I wrote a book called Fed Up with Frenzy, Slow Parenting in a Fast-Moving World. And a lot of our adventures and the fun that we've had in nature and outdoors is sprinkled throughout the book because she's getting older. She's a senior in high school, and I really wanted to share our wonderful activities and ideas with other people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's great. I think a lot of the people who I met are blogging about kids and getting kids outside are kind of young parents. Like I have kids who are 3 and 8 years old, but you have a 16-year-old. How? So I'm sure you can share a lot of tricks with us because, you know, I think it's one thing getting kids outdoors when they are small, but it's another thing to keep them being want to go outside when they're getting older. How do you encourage that?
Well, you know, I think the best way to encourage a lifelong love of nature and the outdoors is by instilling it early on. And, you know, early on in our family life, we spent a lot of time outside. We went for lots of local hikes and walks and bike rides. We played games in the park when we could. We just did simple outdoor fun. Explorations, you know, you don't have to go far away. You can often find nature down the street from where you are. We have a creek that runs through our town, and one day we made boats out of newspaper. We folded them up using the instructions we found in Curious George Rides a Bike, one of our favorite books, and we took the newspaper boats down to the creek and floated them down after a spring rain. So we've just done so many things outside with our daughter, simple everyday things since she was very small. And I think that just added up over time and instilled in her a love of nature so that now as a 16-year-old, she hikes on the mountain, she rides a bike on the mountain, she goes to the creek with her friends and swims, she goes to the beach, she's outdoors. I was sharing that we have a tree house on our property and she loves to go up in the tree house and sit in the redwoods. So basically by the time they're teenagers, hopefully, they've had so many positive experiences in nature that there's nothing else that you really have to do to instill that love.
Well, that's great to hear because that's what I think too. But I was just wanting to know that starting early is the key. So that's great to hear. I also know another thing. I've been reading your book. We do share something in common. I don't know if you know that, but I used to be a scout leader too.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I did. In a lot of time, I find that I remember a lot of fun being scout leader, and I know I enjoyed singing. You say you like to go when you're walking. You like to go singing.
We do. I loved being a scout leader. I was a scout leader for my daughter's troop for 7 years. And yes, the smallest things turn into adventures when people have the right attitude about them. And the girls would walk from the elementary school to the scout hall. It was 3 blocks, not a very long walk, but they loved the walk. And they would walk and we would sing camping songs and hiking songs. And then, of course, when we were outside in nature, when we did campouts, we would sing songs around the campfire, and the girls would sing and play games. But it was those same silly songs that they could also sing walking 3 blocks. And it just, singing makes anything into an adventure and makes it more fun. And the girls just had so much fun doing that. And then walking, too, provides an opportunity to be out in the community, to observe nature in the form of trees or flowers as you're walking by, and just see so much more than kids tend to see if they're driven in a car places. And so, of course, we would get out and walk whenever possible, too.
Oh, that's great. I think it's so important. I really liked a lot in your books. I also like also your blog. What I really like about your blog is also that the first time I think I connected with you on Twitter and I started reading you, and I was like, yeah, you write about rituals and you're connecting the nature to rituals as well, like fall is changing, about winter and why it's changing, and putting that in connection. I really like that, and I think that's not just for kids, but it's really for adults as well, enjoying that different seasons.
Well, I agree, Kari, and I think a big part of slowing down involves and allows you to notice when the seasons change, and notice the small and large changes between seasons, between weeks, between months. And sometimes a ritual, let's say a ritual at a solstice or an equinox, just to put the very dramatic examples out there, I think they really help people mark time. They help children realize when seasons are changing. They help us take a break from busy lives and look around at the natural world where you do notice the seasons change. And I just think those things are really important. It's funny that you bring up both ritual and singing, because I think those are both ways that ancient people appreciated community and seasons and time and change and dealt with changes. And I think both ritual and singing are sadly left out of modern life. And of course, nature is a big part of what people would sing about, where the rituals would take place, and where people would notice the change of seasons. So I think all those things are very tied together.
Yeah, it's connect us with, like you said, like with our history, where we are coming from, things
Right.
we maybe have forgot about. Actually,
Right.
something funny thing about singing. Russell, my husband, says whenever he is in Norway, when it's nice summer, he always said, "I never heard so many people going around singing." That was just remembering, because when you are from a very cold country and have a very short summer, you really are so into to be outside when that happens. I think you just goes around singing. I just got that, remember. So what is slow parenting? Like, I know that slow for me, because I used to be a chef. I was a trained chef. So for me, that is a little bit connected to food as well.
Right. Well, I think it is slow food that really popularized the idea of slow anything, fill in the blank. Now they have slow travel. Gosh, I'm blanking. There's a lot of sort of slow movements that have popped up. But I take it, slow food came about as a response to fast food, which was quickly consumed, quickly prepared, and not very mindful in the making, not mindful of where the food came from, or how it's being made or consumed. So I think of slow parenting as the same thing. It's not necessarily slothful, and full of nothing. In fact, sometimes slow parenting is very activity filled, but I think the idea is that it's the right pace for you. So at any given time, that pace might change. The family might need a whole weekend to just have nothing planned and just sit around and sing and walk and be, or have quiet time Another weekend or week might call for a busier period, but it's really about looking at what is right for the family at any given time. And often we take on so many extracurricular activities, and we fear that we're left behind if we don't do a lot of things at once or take advantage of every opportunity that comes our way or say yes to everything we think we're supposed to do. So a lot of times we take on way more than the family can handle. And then it might be time to pull back and say, all right, where's the balance point? And that's really what slow parenting is about finding the balance and finding the right pace for your family, and then being intentional about how you do go about filling the time that you do have.
Sounds like a great approach to me. So are you like, I know a lot of in our movement, if I should call that, I know that free range parenting have probably get the most attention in media. What do you think about that? Is slow parenting free range parenting too?
Well, I think there is a lot of overlap and there are a lot of similarities. I think, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the free range parenting movement has to do with getting out of the way of the kids. And it's kind of anti-helicopter parenting, to use another term. But I see it as, letting the kids play. We have a lot of fears around safety, and it's the same fears that prevent a lot of people from getting outdoors and enjoying outdoor play. And of course, there are some appropriate fears, and some are also misguided. And I think, again, everybody has to know their community, their home, and what's an appropriate fear and what isn't. But I think the overlap between slow parenting and free-range parenting happens when we get out of the way and we make space to just let our kids play. Whether it's in the playground, whether we're at the edge of the playground, or we're not in the playground at all, somehow we're not in the play quite as much as I think parents are in our culture.
Yeah, that's good. That was a good answer. And also maybe making room for family time and play as well.
Right, absolutely. We're hearing now from experts that first off, when a lot of kids are asked what they want more of in life, they say time with their parents. And I just think all of us could really heed that advice. We tend to want to rush our kids into activities or think we're doing the best thing for them by putting them in multiple activities, when sometimes that may not be the best thing for an individual child. And we're hearing more and more that playtime, downtime, and family time are actually what lead to academic success and healthy and happy children. And it's funny because I think a lot of times in our culture, we don't value play as much as we value something that we think is going to lead to academic achievement or being terrific at sports, whereas free play offers different opportunities than certainly academic things and even than organized sports. And if we just shifted our value system a little more, we might allow for more free play.
Yes, and also I want to say, I think it doesn't necessarily have to, you can do a lot of sport outdoor with your kids. Like I go cross-country skiing in the winter with the kids, and that's great family bonding for us. It doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything, and it does happen play when we do it. So I'm just like, it's a lot of ways to connect to the outdoors as well.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's funny because we tend to do things separately from our kids. Sometimes we put them in sports and then we're watching the sports. And again, I think it's great. My daughter does a lot of sports now in high school, but she didn't do so many when we were younger. And when we were younger, when she was younger, I guess we were all younger, but when she was younger, we had that kind of time to do just as you're saying, to enjoy nature as a family. And that, that really enhances family bonding. It allows everyone to get in nature together and have fun. And I just think our culture has a lot of separation of kids' activities and parent activities. And that's not, I think it's not necessary to have quite so much of that.
No, you're right. Another thing I really liked in your book was that you wrote about how you would walk to school with your daughter.
Right.
As you know, I think walking to school or biking is very important as well. And it's sad it's not really that common anymore to do that in North America.
It's funny, it's not as common as when I was a kid, but it is becoming more common, at least in my town, and that's the town I've noticed over the last 10 years. I've noticed many, many more people biking and walking to school. And first off, we have a group here in the U.S. called Safe Routes to Schools, and you may have it in Canada as well. But it's very prominent here. And so what happened is they encouraged people to they called it a walking school bus. And on certain days of the year, everybody would walk to school in a line, almost like a bus. And once people get out and do that, it encourages more people to do it. And I've seen the trends year after year pick up where more kids are biking. The bike racks at the schools are full of bikes. More people are walking. But it takes a community. It takes sometimes it takes the city planners to help create the safe routes so that kids have a route to go where they don't have to worry about car traffic. And then sometimes it takes people to get out in the streets. It's the same thing with playing in the playgrounds. We see a lot of empty playgrounds. And I think we can take back our streets and make them safe for walking, and take back our playgrounds and make them safe for playing if somebody takes it upon themselves to be the pioneer family, to be the pioneer school, and be the ones walking to school and going out and playing. I think we'll encourage more people to do that if we become the first family to go out and, take a stand. I know you've done that where you are. Be the one to go out, and you'll get other people to come along with you.
Yeah, I'm actually lucky when it comes to where I live. I live in a walking community. I live in a city. Funny enough, a lot of times we say, "Oh, city, you not get connected to nature," but very often it's also a lot of walking in cities. Mm-hmm. And in my community, it's a lot of walking. Almost everybody walks and bike to school. But I think it's more the challenge is if you do not have that. If you live more in the suburb, is that true?
It is true, and I think that's a big barrier. Is people are used to the car, and one of the reasons I started walking my daughter into school was because we had a drop-off lane for the cars, and so everybody would drive their child up in an individual car, and they'd pull up to the drop-off lane at the school, and sometimes it was very chaotic in the morning. And there were signs that said, "Drop, don't stop." Don't even stop the car. Just let the kid out and keep going. And that just seemed very out of balance to me, and not the way to be in a community, not the way to have a lovely morning, if at all possible. I know people are rushing. But in our case, we just took the 10 minutes to park a little farther away. We couldn't walk completely to school, but we could park a little farther away and walk part of the way in and experience part of the wonderful communal benefits of walking. So I think you're absolutely right. When we fight the car culture, it becomes a little harder, and it takes a few people to be very adamant and to be leaders and bring the others, hopefully, with them.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that's a very good advice what you did there, that you do it halfway or something. I think that's great.
Well, thank you. It actually made a huge difference for us. It's funny, some of my best friends to this day are people that I met when we would walk through the neighborhood. So you make connections in a whole different way, of course, walking and biking than you would in a car.
Yeah, I also think it creates a community as well. You meet the other parents at the school as well. And definitely that's what we do. And I think that's good for the parents as well. And I also like that you said that you did observe so much when you were walking. You were talking about smells.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because you observe the changing seasons. We smelled the wood-burning fireplaces in the fall and the winter. And then we would take a particular path. Again, we happen to live in a lovely town. I'm describing creeks and paths, that wind between the houses. So we would take a pretty path after we parked the car. And the smell of the wild onions in the spring was always very, very distinct. And, my daughter no longer goes to that school. It's an elementary school. But that smell of wild onions, sometimes I'll be on a path or a street in our town and I'll smell it, and it'll just bring back the feeling that I had holding her hand and walking her on the path and meeting friends. And it's just a lovely memory.
Yeah, that is. It's a lovely memory. And then also say you again how you can have a memory of a smell and that follows you and connects you with the outdoor again.
Right.
So, Suz, how do you encourage outdoor play in your life with your daughter? I know we talked a little bit about it, but I also know that you like to connect food with the outdoors as well. And what do you do? What do you like to do in fall?
Oh my gosh, fall might be my favorite season. Every year we visit the local pumpkin patches. I love to see the pumpkins and to get gourds. Often if we've been having a nice garden in the summer, it's when our harvest will come up. And we have a shade garden. We have a lot of shade and fog where I live, so we tend to grow peas and lettuce, pretty flowers, grapes, the occasional pepper. So I do love gardening with my daughter. I think that's something we'll always do together. It's something I did with my parents. So definitely there are garden projects to be done throughout the year and in fall. One great thing to do is to make a simple bird feeder, and I have bird feeders in my book. That's a great way to welcome the birds in fall and spring. They tend to be migrating and could really use a little food on their stopover. And in addition, if you hang a bird feeder, you'll just see birds all the time. We love to sit and watch the beautiful birds that come to our deck garden, that come feed at the feeder. So gardening for wildlife, in addition to birds, you can garden for butterflies, you can garden for bees, which really help the ecosystem. And then there's a whole nother set of things to do with kids, which is play games. I love to get groups of kids out, or even our family group out on a lawn, a playground, patch of grass is great, and just play good old-fashioned games. And I have these in my book as well. I have lots of games of tag and games that a lot of us played as kids, but they're not so prominent anymore because a lot of kids aren't playing outside as much anymore. Games like Capture the Flag and Kick the Can and Spud, Foursquare and Hopscotch, which often, if you have a piece of chalk, you can make a quick Foursquare court or a Hopscotch group of squares. I don't know what you call those.
No.
And just play on them. And I think a lot of kids are lacking that just simple down-home outdoor play. And it's very easy to do. No equipment is required. You just have to refresh on the rules and get out and have fun.
Yeah, that's good things. I think a lot of people, parents, are saying is, well, I'm the only parents who's outside. I can't just let my kids go outdoor. It's nobody out there in the streets. So what should parents do to kind of create that outdoor play environment with other kids? This is just some things I hear a lot from other parents.
Yes, I know. We want other kids to play with. One thing, I do social media for a nonprofit called Children and Nature Network. And one thing they've encouraged people to do is start family nature clubs. And I know you had Debbie Huang on, and she's a family nature club proponent. Sometimes it takes being the first family and saying, I know it can be a little scary to go hiking on a trail with just your family. It'd be fun if we had some other families along. And people we have on the site, childrenandnature.org, there's a toolkit, and people can download the toolkit and proclaim a family nature club and make meeting dates and say, all right, on this Saturday, we're going to call a family nature hike, and we're going to get other families out there with us. Sometimes that family is the first and only family on the hike, but chances are, if they keep doing it, other families will come join them too. And it's a great way to get other people out there with you. If you don't want to be as formal as having a family nature club, it might mean putting a sign up at school and saying, hey, family play date at the playground. We tend to go to meetings when there's a purpose or there's something at the school, but we often don't call a meeting just to play. And maybe because play is such an outlier in a lot of our lives. When I was a kid, we knocked on people's doors, we went in the street, and there were always kids to play with. And it's not the case anymore. So because play is not as common, we might have to make it happen again. We might have to put up a sign at the school and say, play group meeting Saturday at 11 at the school playground. Come play with us. Come play, kick the can and capture the flag and blob tag. And I think it might take families to change the dynamic a little bit.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we do outdoor play groups as well, especially for younger kids. We encourage that, and that's more like what you say. It's in the playground or in the local park or things like that. It's more for young kids. But one thing I really have noticed that they do at our school that is just happened is that every day after school, the parents would just talk together and the kids would play. It just happens. No organization. It's just happened. So they would play like 1 hour after school at the school playground. And I think
it's true. Kids just want to play. And I think you're right. We tend to overthink it. And, special equipment required. I think it just requires making the time and honoring play. So even if you were to say, parents, let's meet in a pretty park, and the parents can sit around and drink coffee and talk, and the kids will run around and they'll make their own fun. I mean, if you want to make fun for kids, of course, I have lots of ideas in my book, Fed Up with Frenzy, for nature and activities that help kids observe nature and go deeper in nature. And that's all wonderful. But you can also just call a meeting in a beautiful natural place. And yes, kids run around and have fun and discover trees and look under logs and see animals and do all kinds of wonderful things in nature. Probably nothing else is required than to just make the time and get them out there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that I think we think we have to do so much outdoors, but it's really just to be and just enjoy it. I thank you so much for being here. I also just want to tell you we're going to continue chatting on Facebook. Today you are going to, you can win either a family pack of Active Kids Club safety reflectors, so making you safe when you're out walking and biking to school. And
we have those. They're fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes. And of course, Suz's book, Fed Up with Frenzy, Slow Parenting in a Fast-Moving World. And also, did you know that actually Suz is quoted in the Times? I'm very proud of you that you were quoted in the Times.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. Really, it's been a delight, and the time has flown. And I will come over to Facebook and keep chatting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful day, 'cause I know you're right here by my side. Yeah, it's a beautiful day, so come on, let's spread our wings and fly. La la la, la 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 la. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. La la la, la 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 la. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. If the sky is blue or it's turning gray, just hold my hand and it's a beautiful day. If the weather's cold or it's pouring rain, as long as I'm with you, well, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day, and the best part is there's another one on the way.